This is a short video that points out a few tips and tricks for plotting in MATLAB that most people are unaware of. Now what we're going to be doing to illustrate these is a small part of a larger demo, and in this step we're going to try to be making a green ball stand out in an image. So the first thing we need to do is bring our image in. We have a JPEG here. And the easiest way to bring data into MATLAB is to simply drag and drop it from your directory into your workspace, which will open up this import wizard. And so we can see we have in our workspace now 240 by 320 pixels, where this third value 3 is the red, green, blue color planes. Now we could look up some commands to try to plot this, but we can actually just click on it in our workspace and click on this little GUI over here, and what it'll do is it'll suggest different functions for plotting this data. And we can mouse over these, bring up the documentation, see that image is the one that we want, click on it, and it'll go ahead and plot our data. Now if we want to look at the red, green, blue image plane separately, we can do that with these commands here. So basically what we're doing is we're taking all the rows and columns and then picking out individual color planes into RGB, red, green, blue. And so if we select our red data, we can go back over to this GUI, and it's not immediately recognizing what we want to do with it, and that's because we now just have a plain matrix, which is a very general form. We can come down here and select the scaled image. And so what it's doing here is it's assigning a different color to each pixel depending on the red pixel count. And so I'm going to switch this to a grayscale. And so what this image does now is white is a high red pixel count, black is a low red pixel count. So it might be useful to look at red, green, blue all plotted separately, but all in the same figure. If we were to do this in the command window, we'd have to bring up the subplot commands, but those can be a little bit tedious to work with at times. So we can click up here and open up the plot tools, go over to this GUI over here on the left, and simply draw out what we want our subplot to be. So we can draw it a 2 by 2. Click on our second axis, go over to our workspace, click on our green data, click on the GUI, and it'll plot it. And we can then do that with the third axis with our blue data. And so now we have our red, green, blue color planes plotted individually on the same figure. But you might notice that the green ball here isn't really popping out at all. So we might want to create a new data, and we're going to call this just green. And what we're going to do here is we're going to reward high green pixel count and penalize red and blue. And this is because what makes something really green isn't having a lot of green in it, it's having a lot of green with very low red and blue. So we can click on our last subplot, click on our just green, click on our GUI, and it'll plot it. And now you can see that green ball really pops out. Now it'd be nice if we could find a way to automate this. As you can see, we have other JPEGs over here we might want to look at, and we might not want to go through all the point and click stuff every time, especially if we're going to do a lot of editing on this, like getting rid of these tick marks, adding titles, maybe adding some captions, or doing some other stuff. So what we can do is, if we select our figure, we can go to File, Generate M File, and what this is doing is it's not a macro, it's actually going through and auto-generating the MATLAB code needed to create this exact figure with all the editing that we've done in the plot tools, given the data for each of the subplots. So over here it's calling it C data 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are just the default titles for the input data for this function generator, where C data 1 is the first subplot and so on. So I'm actually going to close this, and I'm going to open up one that I've basically the same thing, but I've modified a little bit, where here I'm just putting in the straight image and pulling out red, green, blue, and just green inside of the function. So then down here in my command window, I can call my plot, give it the straight original image, and it'll plot it. And as you can see, I use the plot tools to clean up those tick marks and add in titles, and when I hit generate M file, it retained that. Now if we wanted to look at these white pixel counts, what we can do is we can open up just green in the variable editor, scroll down to a line, say 55, and notice that there's a little GUI plotter up here as well. So we can click on this, and we can get a line plot of the white pixel count for the grayscale of just green in line 55. So this is a nice way of looking at subsets of data using the variable editor. And so hopefully that gives you a few tips and tricks that you can find useful for exploring your